It doesn't have to be for like desserts or cookies or stuff. I mean, any sort of recipes you guys got, or just foods in general you guys think are good, let me know. I mean, I just wanted to say one, raspberries, best of all the berries. Macaroons. Macaroons are really good cookies. Tuxedo cake. Most people don't know what a tuxedo cake is. It's kind of like, in a way, kind of like tiramisu cake in a way. It's kind of like a sponge cake with the kind of syrup in it sort of thing, with layers. But the main thing it's known for is it has like some chocolate and white chocolate stuff, but mainly it's got like a thick, dark chocolate mousse in the cake. And it's usually a marbled kind of cake, but it's a pretty good cake. Yes, I know I'm fat. But main point is like, what are some good recipes? Heck, a really good chili recipe is called pot of gold. It's a fairly simple thing. It usually tends to be cooked with, without beans. And what it is you're taking the cans of biscuit dough and the blocks of cheddar and Swiss cheese, chopping the cheese into cubes, tearing apart the biscuit dough and wrapping it around the cubes and cooking your chili. You're making cheese dumplings in your chili. Yes, everyone's like, why not just have grilled cheese sandwiches with your chili? I'm like, fair, that's true. But I'm just saying it's a different way to do it. Yeah, other than that, just other types of foods, maybe a certain type of restaurant you like to go to. Other than that, I guess one thing I really want to say is I am somebody who does like nature. Granted, I don't think I ever want to go camping ever again because I just like my bed. Yes, I am an adult who has stuffed animals and a pillow and multiple pillows, not only just resting my head, but also have a pillow that, if I want to have a body pillow, but also have a pillow that, if I'm not using another pillow, I can just put it between my legs. Otherwise, it's uncomfortable because it's like you lay at a weird angle and it just makes you're more sore when you wake up. So at least by putting a pillow between your legs, between your knees, it's like, it's more comfortable. Aside from that, if there's any music bands that you think are great music, like Smile Empty Soul, or Korn, or Perfect Circle. A Perfect Circle is really good. The band's very closely related to the band called Tool. But there's also tons of really great... Also, if you have any anime you'd like to suggest, obviously there's tons of new good anime coming out. I mean, I'm looking forward to more Overlord and Reincarnated as a Slime. But older animes like Ghost in the Shell, Armitage 3, Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040, Ghost in the Shell. I think I already said that one. I'm trying not to go on too long with the video because I have a tendency to just go on indefinitely and ramble about random subjects if I just don't end the video a bit shorter. But I guess the main thing I was just trying to say is various... Whether it's a cooking recipe that you yourself have that you like to do, or even if it's just like something you're like, hey, I remember this one really good snack that I got somewhere from this one restaurant, or I like this one kind of pizza, or I like to cook lasagna this way. Like, it's like, how do you like to make a homemade lasagna? Because heck, when I was much younger, my mom would actually cook things from scratch, and she would make some homemade lasagna, boiled egg noodles in a big pot, and then you'd have the egg noodles layered with things like cottage cheese and green peppers and onions and hamburger and shredded cheese. All in a big, sort of cake pan. Or things like meatloaf or things like that. Just in general, what do you tend to cook? What's something you consider fancy? What's considered your average go-to? Like, do you tend to just have a bowl of cereal? Do you cook omelets? If you go out to eat somewhere, and I'm not saying anywhere fancy, what's just normal for you to go? Like, do you ever go out to eat? Even though it's probably not very healthy, but, I can definitely say I've stopped by Wendy's and Burger King a few more times than... It's probably for the best, because, like I said, maybe one day I will not be fucking fat. Then again, I'm always getting fucking hurt at work. I have like a purple welt the size of my fucking fist on the inside of my right leg. Like, it's not on the calf muscle, it's on the place between the calf muscle and the shin, right below my knee. And of course, I'm like constantly spraining and straining things, namely in my elbow and my shoulder. But yeah, I can never seem to lose weight or gain muscle, but I don't know. I'm at least sleeping more, so maybe that'll help with that. And that definitely does seem to help, just to feel better, just get better sleep. Then again, I'm the kind of person, what do I usually do? I tend to go for walks on bike trails. Like I said, I haven't done the VR chat thing in such a long time, but it's so cool to see the environments that take place in there. I mentioned it in like a few of my previous videos, but it's just, I like watching thunderstorms. I like going out to the bike trail and going for a walk. Sometimes I kind of dislike the fact that it's only the same bike trail over and over. That it'd be nice if there were more variety of bike trails and hiking trails. But then I am like the lamest person in the world. It's like, Lunar, if you had teleportation powers, what's the first thing you'd want to do with it? And it's like, I'd want to go to various bike trails and hiking trails across the world and just walk on them. Heck, if I had the technology to do it, because I did try to record a tiny bit of the bike trail here with my phone, and it's just the worst, terrible quality video. Heck, I don't even think I could properly, upload that to my computer at the time. So I think I took a webcam and I recorded the footage. So I pushed play on my phone and then pointed the webcam at my phone. I think a year after that, I managed to find a separate sort of trail that was like an hour or something from here. I doubt I'll ever be at that place ever again, but it was a bit of a drive. And it's also like near like where a bunch of rich people live. Like, honestly, I feel like most of those people pay per month for rent for their apartment more than I make in a year, probably. It's just maybe not that bad, but it just seems like it's looking at the cars and everything around. It's just like, it's like maybe one day I won't be poor or, fat. I mean, I'll always be ugly, but at least we could, improve on a few things, maybe. But then again, at times I feel that's kind of hopeless. At the end of the day, I'm just physically getting better from day to day, I guess. And everyone's like, "You're going on. It's been 8 minutes. This is supposed to be a thing about saying I like cookies," and we're still going. Main point is, I wanted you guys to share, 1, any cooking recipes that you have. 2, even if you're not necessarily a person who's a good cook, maybe if, say, your mother cooked some food when you were younger, if you liked her cooking, like there was like heck, I would sit in the kitchen and talk to my mom when she was cooking. And I enjoyed that. I mean, one, she not only put a lot of effort into the cooking, and I liked the food, but I just enjoyed spending time with my mom and talking to her. But then again, I love my mom very, very much. But yeah, maybe if there's somebody in your family or your life that cooked, or that maybe you cooked food for, or just experience you yourself have of cooking, or maybe just things that you like to eat. Like, what do you think are good cookies? What are your thoughts on macaroons? What are other cookies like? Have you ever heard of a tuxedo cake before? What do you think of it? Do you like other kind of cakes? What kind of good desserts are there? What do you think about raspberry? I think raspberry is the best berry. I think it's a very good flavor. Beyond that, I mean, you can obviously foods that are not desserts or sweets or confections, you can share that sort of stuff. I mean, heck, if you have like a certain type of steak or cut of meat or how you cook your steak or something like that, you could share that. Obviously, any bands you like, any music, any anime, any video games. I'm interested to hear all of that. I suppose the big thing would be also just, have you ever gone on hiking trails or bike trails. I did a lot of camping when I was younger. I don't think I ever want to do it again just because it's just it's just not something I want to do. Like I like I like the outdoors and nature, but I don't want to ever go camping ever again. I don't want to ever have to sleep on the fucking floor again or the fucking like ground, even with a freaking little foam piece under you and sleep bag. Like no, I like my big comfy queen bed and all my pillows and my blankets and my stuffed animals. Okay, and I like being able to lay in front of a fan and just I like the comfort. It's nice. I don't want to ever go camping again. But I still like to go out to the bike trails. Honestly, if there was more bike trails and hiking trails available, I'd go to a whole bunch of them all the time. And of course, there's times where I tend to get lost in thought when I don't listen to music when I'm out there. I'm either just walking quietly, just listening to the sounds of like the wind and the trees and stuff, or I'm talking to myself. Yes, I know, but I've been doing it my whole life. I talk to myself, okay? Not in a crazy way. I'm not like multiple people or some shit. I just, well, have always been kind of a lonely, introverted person, and of course, life for all of us has been a bit isolating, especially since, the certain recent events in 2020 with lockdowns and stuff. And heck, I don't think society as a whole ever came back from that. Like, I feel everyone's more isolated than they ever were in the past. It's just, I don't know. Or maybe it's just aging. Maybe it's just something wrong with me that's gotten worse. Whether it's from trauma, PTSD, from numerous bad things occurring, from the pandemic stuff. Maybe it's just the isolation and being alone for such a long period of time. Who knows? Hey, it lends itself well to Let's Plays. And heck, I've always enjoyed the whole Let's Play stuff. I mean, I remember watching a bunch of those back, even like I think 2008 and 2009. Ultra J-Man and Slow Beef and Rom Scout, Proton John, Freelance Astronauts. I like, hey, Tatsudoshi and Sakana, DDR Maniac 007, Sir Eldrick the Fourth, Zeta Plays. Honestly, so many Let's Plays, and of course, many of them I don't remember. I remember just watching so many different Mario ROM hacks and even blind playthroughs of Mario the Lost Levels, the original Mario 2, the one we didn't get in America because it was too hard. But it's just, I just really enjoyed those. Then again, I've always been into manga, and anime, and even reading all sorts of books. I like to read a lot. Heck, a lot of people would consider me very boring. I don't like fighting or arguments, and I tend to just prefer to just relax and be laid back, and I like to just play some video games and read manga and read light novels and read books and play video games and watch anime. Yeah. But it's just, and Pepsi's good, especially ice cold Pepsi in a fresh can. It's really good. But it's just, I don't know. How many of you guys, I guess the roundabout question I'm trying to ask is, how many of you guys out there, I guess some of you guys probably actually do ride bicycles. I don't. One, there's, even if everyone's going, oh, it's never too late to learn how to ride a bicycle. Yes, it is. Okay? One, my body's more prone to injury at this age. I know I'm 37, but still, it's just, I'm always getting hurt just by existing. And heck, not only do I get hurt from work all the time, every time I try to go to the gym or exercise, I get hurt in some way or pull something. And I tend to get sick easily. And it's just the main point I'm saying is I have a terrible sense of balance. There's times where I do stretches like lunges, and I'll just fall over. Like, like I'll just be like doing a stretch. Not even like the thing where you lift a leg up, where like both my legs are solidly on the ground, and I'm just trying to do a forward lunge, and I will fall over because I'll lose my balance. And let's be clear, there's no way on earth I can afford the medical bills or time off from work from getting hurt from falling off the bike. Plus, it would hurt a lot. I don't want to do that. Plus, at this point, I feel like I'd get serious injuries that just would never recover. Like, I feel like it would actually break things. Heck, it's like, I remember being in concerts when I was younger, and I'd be in mosh pits and shit. I couldn't even imagine being in a mosh pit anymore. Plus, it just doesn't sound fun to me anymore. Like, I enjoyed it back then, but even if I wasn't fragile fucking paper mache Raditz, I don't think I would enjoy it. I still enjoy music, but even then, a lot of times I don't know if I'd want to go to concerts anymore. It'd be so loud. There'd be so much going on. It'd be... And everyone said, that sounds like really lame social anxiety shit. Like, probably, I don't know. I'm just saying, I like music and concerts and stuff. I don't think I want to go to them anymore. I'd rather just have a radio on in the room and listen to a Tool CD and just casually space the fuck out. Maybe if I had a partner here or something, we could, chill. Maybe just sit next to each other and like read manga next to each other. Or draw, or I could, read my freaking 40k books. That's funny, I've never played the 40k tabletop game, but I like to read the books. I like to read lots. Heck, I have the complete collection of William Shakespeare's plays. Like, all of the it's a big-ass fucking book. I have a complete collection of all of William Shakespeare's stuff. Lots of Canterbury Tales, the Odyssey. I have some books on the U.S. Constitution. I like to read things. Heck, I remember, when I was a little kid, I enjoyed watching history documentaries of all things, whether it be World War I and II, ancient Egypt, just about any era you can think about. Even stuff about... the different eras and periods from back in the past. Like, I enjoyed just reading stuff about dinosaurs and just like the facts and statistics, and just like, oh, this dinosaur lived at this many million years ago, and this is this and this and this. And you guys ever remember the stereograms? Plus, there's like 3D pictures of dinosaurs that you can put on glasses and they're 3D, and everyone's like, what the fuck? I don't know. I had a dinosaur book at one point when I was really young. It was really cool, and I had it for a long time, and then I wound up losing it very early on in my marriage, and I'm like, I miss that book. That was a really nice book. It was actually a 3-ring binder sort of thing, full of a bunch of shit. My mom had got that for me. I really appreciated that book. I feel bad that I don't have that book anymore. I don't know. Heck, though I imagine if I had a partner, I'd probably be annoying as fuck to him. A bit clingy and probably overly affectionate and hyper affectionate. I'm the kind of person who likes to take showers with people. I also feel like people would probably think I'm like a fucking serial killer. Like, hey, I want to go walk with you on a fucking bike trail. It's like, no, I'm not a serial killer. I just really like walking, and I like outdoors and nature, and I'm a bit introverted, okay? I'm sorry that I want to awkwardly walk with you in the middle of a fucking bike trail / hiking trail, and maybe more than half the time neither of us say anything to each other, and we're just sort of casually walking next to each other, just enjoying each other's company, albeit very socially awkward. Heck, I keep getting complaints that apparently the way I talk to people or write and shit, and just apparently like my manner of speech is very disorganized. And I'm like, I don't see it and I can't do anything about it. But apparently it's a thing that people have bitched at, honestly, since I was like, as long as I can remember. And I think it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. I think everything about me has gotten worse as I've gotten older, whether it be physical or mental. So it's like, everyone's like, can you stop being socially awkward? I'm like, no. No, I can't. I've tried. It doesn't work. It gets worse. It's just getting more pronounced. And it's like, I think it's just part of just a natural progression of aging. Maybe I'm getting Alzheimer's? I don't know. My short-term memory and attention span is just doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, I guess the roundabout question, aside from saying, hey guys, what's some good food you like and how do you cook certain things and what are some good cookies? Or if you like go to Walmart, what are you picking up out of the, the dessert area? Or like, since they usually have all sorts of stuff, or like, heck, there you have those little plastic, what are you, tubs, containers? That has like the matzo balls, mozzarella cheese balls submerged in olive oil with a bunch of different herbs and stuff. That's good. I like that. Though usually if I get it, I'll eat it sparingly because I know if I were to sit and eat the whole thing in one sitting, I know my stomach will cramp and be a bit painful after that. So I have to use some moderation. But I guess the main thing I'm trying to say, aside from the food thing, is, heck, I remember back in 2015, hell, a fucking decade ago. How was it 10 years ago? Shit. That's so much time. Fuck. Hell. I've been alone since my divorce, and I've still been living in the same two-bedroom this whole fucking time, and even then, it was about a year and a half before the divorce since I set up my son's bedroom, and that room has stayed the same since. So I think, I live in the same two-bedroom I've been living in for like 9 years or something, eight and a half, 9 years, I don't know. And I've spent majority of that alone. Heck, my son, it's my bedroom and my son's bedroom. And my son's bedroom, I have kept it the same for like, it's been the same since about a year and a half before we got divorced. And as far as me and my ex-wife, so yeah, that happened shortly after he was 3 years old. But his room's been the same since it was like when he was like 1.5, 2, when I set it up like that. So I think his bedroom's been the same for like 8 fucking years. Heck, I've been divorced for like 6, 7 years or some shit. Partly I don't want to think too much on that just because it's fucking depressing, and two, I don't want to give an exact number because I don't want to be too verbatim with details of my own personal life. I don't want to it'd be like saying I can say I'm 37, but I don't want to say my birthday. Same way as I don't want to give exact dates for exactly how long I've been divorced and all that shit, but it's been such a fucking long time. On the one hand, it's probably not been good for me to have been alone this fucking long, but at the same time, I was never more alone than when I was married. Heck. I hope I never see her talk to my ex-wife ever again. And honestly, if I were to see her, I'd actually be scared of her. Heck, I have a fucking 3-inch scar on my right arm to remember my last Christmas being married to my ex-wife by. My son's bedroom has been the same for about 8 years. Hell, for the first 5 years. For the first 5 years since my divorce. And, my son, air quotes, moving out. For the first 5 years, with exception of the days my son came over to visit and spend the weekend, for the first 5+ years, I would spend 2 to 3 hours in my son's room talking to his stuffed animals. I would sit and read his childhood stories. I would sit alone in his bedroom, reading his books to his stuffed animals. Heck, when I very first started recording any videos for YouTube, I tried recording myself reading to the laptop, and I sounded like a fucking demon. I was so fucking pissed and hurt at the idea that I was reading to a fucking computer instead of my child. And all that fucking anger and grief came through my voice, and it made me sound like a fucking demon. Completely unlike anything I would have sounded like if I was actually reading for my son. And it's funny. I started this channel. Granted, I've always had a love of Let's Plays and always had an interest in possibly starting a channel. And of course, I've never made a cent from this channel. I'm never going to make a cent from this channel. I have no interest. I mean, granted, I'm fucking poor as fuck, but I could use money, but I'm just saying I don't want to ever make a fucking cent from this. I never have made a cent from this channel. I never will. I'm never going to have fucking merchandise. I'm not some fucking brand or business. I'm just some crazy guy talking on the internet. This is just a place for me to talk without a filter and annoy all of you. I've always had a love of Let's Plays, and I just really liked the YouTube stuff, even way back when. I have no interest in ever making a single cent from this. I just have always liked Let's Plays and stuff on YouTube from way back, like Ultra J-Man, I Want to Be the Guy, his co-op thing with Rom Scout, his playthroughs of like Battle Kid and Bonesaw and stuff like that. It was just, I always had so much enjoyment watching. And of course, I just suggest certain games to certain people. And of course, I always played a lot of video games myself, and I've always been really big into anime and manga and stuff like that, and reading and discussing like philosophy or anything and everything. I've always been a bit over the place, and I am definitely all over the place when it comes to this channel, talking about whatever. Heck, I read books and do karaoke, or I guess whatever the fuck this is right now where I'm talking about just whatever random bullshit. But I started this channel, I think, on January 1st of 2021. And it is January 24th of 2025 now. And it's been over 4 years. And it's funny. When I first got divorced, my son was coming over on the weekends. I'd read him the stories when he came over, and he'd be smiling and happy. I'd take him to the park. I'd take him to see my mom. We'd sit and play with his construction set and play with cars. We'd watch Paw Patrol. I'd give him a bath. I'd always tried to do everything I could to be the best dad I could be. I guess the only things I did wrong was I was never rich, and I guess I chose a terrible mother for him. Then again, while I can say I married her because I loved her, I can also say if I hadn't married my ex-wife, I would have never married anyone. I would never been able to have a child at all. Then again, you can't really say I really chose poorly when, honestly, I feel like even if I could have asked a magic genie to marry anybody, anyone I would have been with would have married, would have divorced me. Hell, my experiences with my ex-wife was so bad, I've decided I'm just going to be gay from now on. Not that I've actually dated anyone. I'm just, in the future, whenever I don't know, maybe less fat, maybe less antisocial. I'm just saying this, my experience with my ex-wife was so fucking bad, I'd rather just be fucking gay. Because it was fucking awful and it was horrible. I never want to go through what I went through with my ex-wife ever fucking again. It was just awful and it was horrible. Like, I tend to be a lonely person, but I was never more lonely when I was, married, especially toward the end. Of course, there were some happy members at the start of the marriage. It was better, but it's just, I just never again. I would rather just, and of course, I guess I've always been bi. It's just never really admitted that or acknowledged it even to myself until I was like 33 or 34, which is already like a couple of years or so after I was officially divorced. Hell, I don't think I heard about the red pill, MGTOW, or Astolfo. I don't think I heard about any of those things until about 3 years after I officially divorced. I will say this, Astolfo is very cute. So is Sylvia from Konosuba. And like I said, I don't think Overlord or Reincarnated as a Slime, I don't think either of those things had even had their first anime episode by that point. I don't think I had ever heard about those two animes yet. I don't think they had even existed. I don't think I ever, and I obviously didn't hear about the light novels because I didn't start looking into light novels until after I heard about the anime. But those are really cool animes. I really like them. Rimuru and Momonga or Ainzel Gon. But, and of course I tend to work a lot, with exception of a few months or so where I did wind up quitting that previous job and before I came to this new job. And part of me was like, yeah, I'm going to lose a bunch of weight and focus on working out and I'm going to have a six-pack, and I completely fucking failed at that completely. I haven't improved my health in any way. I did walk in the bike trail quite a bit, which I enjoyed. And granted, there's sometimes I went too long, with like 12 miles, and I'd be back, and I'd be like fucking limping on the way home. But I mean, there's one time it was like in the dead middle of summer, and it was during a fucking heat wave, and it was way too hot to even be outside, honestly. And I didn't bring water or sunblock, and I walked for 23 miles. I'm pretty sure I almost died on the way back. There was a couple times I had to lay down on the fucking bike trail because I couldn't go on. And then it's like after a little bit of just laying there sort of half passing out, you get up and you try to keep going. It's just, obviously my own fault for not bringing water, for going so far, for not wearing sunblock. I was so badly dehydrated. I so badly sunburned. Heck, I still have it's been well over half a year later, there's still the sunburn mark all over my neck. I think I've got a permanent scar from that. Like my entire back of my neck still got a sunburn on it from over half a year ago. And of course, when I got back from that, I was limping and hobbling for over a week after I got back from that. So I guess the main point is this. I was trying, granted I know my testosterone levels also suck, so that probably does not do me any favors. But I'm just saying, like, I'm 5'11". I'm 210 pounds. I have a belly and I'm fat. I'm also ugly as fuck. I have no athletic ability. I get injured and sick easily. And I have depression. Not exactly a list of positive attributes. Ah, heck. I've recorded a few videos showing off my son's room just because part of me is worried at some point that maybe what if I can't afford rent at some point? What if something happens? Like, I want to at least have a record of his room so it's not gone forever if something happens. Heck, I've got a couple pieces of paper on notebook paper that I've written, letters, just a piece of notebook paper. It's not like it's in an envelope or anything. It's just random notebook pieces of paper I've written, just explanations in the possibility that if something were to happen to me, then it's, just a letter saying that I love my son and for whoever to find the letter to make sure he gets his stuffed animals and to know that he was loved and cared about. But, yeah, it's just. When I first got divorced, he was coming over on the weekends. That lasted, I think, about a year or so. I can't really remember. It's a mix of I don't want to think about it too much, and also I just don't want to, be overly detailed in this explanation. I want to give some variabilities because I don't want to give exact numbers or dates. It's like I'll say, okay, I'm 37 years old, but, I'm not going to tell you my birthday. I guess the other thing is just he was coming over on the weekends and then the COVID pandemic happened. With government lockdowns, and of course the people he lived with insisted on following the government lockdowns. I tried to argue against that, saying that while I understand I understand how there's a concern about the whole COVID stuff, and of course I agree I don't want my son to get sick. I still want to see him, but of course I did not win that argument at the time. And of course that's in 2020, and of course that just kept being more and more excuses on their end, and it's like, what the fuck? And it got to the point that I went an entire year without being able to see my son in person due to the whole fucking COVID lockdowns. And after that entire year of that, I got divorced. And he was coming over on the weekends for like a year and a half. Then the COVID lockdown shit happened. And after a whole year of not being able to see him in person, I started this YouTube channel. A place for me to basically say the most offensive shit imaginable and annoy all of you. Where I can just be my tsundere self, try to pretend I don't care about anyone watching videos. Not that it matters. It's the most inconsistent bullshit imaginable as I just do whatever the fuck I feel like. And I just talk about or do whatever and of course I start off the Let's Plays of Enter the Gungeon or reading like Dragon Ball Z stuff, magazines, and Pathfinder or something. I don't know. I think I had a Lord of the Rings book at one point. And yeah, I started this channel after an entire year of not being able to see him in person. It was another half a year plus before I could start seeing him in person again. Before they started out the whole COVID bullshit excuse slide with the whole government lockdowns. I was then usually seeing him minimum of 4 to 6 times a year, birthdays, Christmas. And of course I'd talk to him on the phones and face chat. I was always trying to be patient, try to work with him, and of course the funny thing is anytime I'd go over to see him, he'd be happy to see me. Me and him would go to a park in their area, and you know, we'd have a lot of fun. We'd run around. Of course, it's kind of worrying that both of us were getting out of breath trying to jog around. I mean, one, I'm not that old. And two, he's a little kid. He's supposed to have tons of energy. How is he getting out of breath? Like, that makes me worried that there's something wrong. Like, shouldn't little kids not get out of breath? I don't understand. Like, I remember being able to run around so much at that age and not be tired. Now, of course, at my age right now, every time I try running around, I get winded so easily, and my knees and my back hurt so fucking bad. But I remember being a kid, and my body felt so light, and I could run around so easily, and I wouldn't get that tired. I wouldn't get tired at all. But like he gets more winded than I do. It makes me worried that they're not even letting, like, how much physical activity does he even get? It makes me worried about his health. Not that I have any power or authority over anything. It's just, I'm worried about him. I want him to be healthy. I want the best for him, and it's just, I don't know what's normal, but I remember how I was at that age, and I don't remember getting out of breath at that age. So I feel like he's pretty much more so a couch potato over there, which, being as young as he is, that's kind of fucked up. But it's like there's nothing I can fucking do. Heck, a lot of him living with them was the fucking concession I had to make in order to protect him from his own fucking mother. It's just, in every regard, I know I made the right decision, because I know if I hadn't married her, I would have never had a child. I would have never had my son. And I still say to this day, the day my son was born was the happiest day of my life. And I did everything I could to be a good father to him. I gave him like a dozen hugs a day. I told him 100 times, that I love him and I was proud of him. Heck, even before he was born, I would say it to the womb he was in. I was there the day he was born, and I was feeding him, changing his diapers, reading him bedtime stories, taking him to doctors, giving him baths, taking him to the park, reading him stories every day, trying to clean up everything around him, trying to do everything I could to try to keep him safe. And eventually it became an issue trying to protect him from his own mother. And then, of course, that marriage oh my God. And then, of course, there's points where, like, I have to deal with my wife fucking yelling and screaming. And it's just like, I'm trying to, one, I don't feel good with that. Like, it's very emotionally devastating to me. Plus, also, I'm trying to, like, shelter and isolate him from, obviously what's really not healthy. I mean, heck, I remember my parents fighting and yelling a bunch when I was really young, and I really did not like that. And that was hell. One thing I really try to do is, I don't want to go into detail about shit in regard to my fathers, my biological dad or my stepdad, but main thing is, I had my grievances, I still do. But I was trying to be everything I wanted in a father, but for him. I was trying everything I could to be the best dad in the world I could for him. And I was trying to be the best husband I could do. Like I said, when I married his mother, I really did love his mom. And I really thought she'd be a good wife and a good mom. And it's just when it became clear that she was not a good mother, I definitely avoided. We still were having lots of sex, but I was doing my best to make sure that the condom never fucking broke or nothing. I was making sure that it's okay. We're holding off to wait to see if things get better before I ever, because it was so fucking bad. But it's just at that point, it was like just constant fucking damage control. Just trying to, like, make sure I could do everything I could to keep him safe. And at the end of the day, it's just like, especially at the divorce happened, it became very clear with certain things going on with her that he would not be safe around her. I can say this. The day my son was born was the happiest day of my life. And I can say that if I hadn't married the woman I married, I would have never had a child. And there were still some happy memories that happened with that marriage. But I think that's true of all marriages. Heck, I think that's true of all abusive relationships. Because at the end of the day, even in abusive relationships, the, you know, things aren't bad 100% of the time. That person's not being abusive 24/7. But at the same time, you shouldn't feel like you're walking on eggshells around somebody. You shouldn't be scared of somebody or just. I think the biggest thing is, aside from the fact of getting betrayed and someone cheating on you and being told you're having your child taken away from you, I think it's the fact that having somebody you trust betray that trust, having somebody you thought you'd feel safe around, to have that taken away, to suddenly find out that the person that you thought you felt safe around is now somebody you're scared of, someone you can't trust. And don't be wrong, I have my own mental illnesses too, but my mental illness is namely, I'm very depressed, I have low self-esteem, I talk to myself, I tend to be a bit introverted, I sometimes space out, or, can't keep, the same line of thought, or I jump around on topics, and I can sometimes get confused as to what I'm talking about, to the point where, I'll talk and then I'll just sort of forget what I'm talking about, or I'll just sort of feel a bit confused or disoriented or tired or lightheaded, or just certain PTSD things to where just, but it's nothing like I'm, violent or angry or mean to anybody. It's mainly just a depression, low self-esteem thing, and just sort of a person who talks to themselves and tends to be very withdrawn and introverted, and perhaps a bit eccentric and hyper-focused on certain things. Like if I might start reading a book or focus on stuff, like I'll focus on a bunch of detail type stuff, or be very interested, just wanting to go out, like the bike trail thing. Like I just like going outside, and it's I don't know, maybe that's just like a different thing. And of course, here I am going on forever again. I literally said this, and this is the thing. This is the issue with me. It's that it's a mix of somebody who, when they do talk, that like most of my life I don't talk very much to people. Heck, and in general, when I do talk to people, when I would be sociable with people, I would let them do most of the talking, and I'd be listening to them, and usually I'd keep the topic on a conversation on them, and I'd avoid my own feelings and what I think about. Heck, most of my life I bottled up my fucking feelings and didn't talk about anything to anybody. And then, of course, about 4, 5-ish, about 3.5 to 4 years before I met my ex-wife, I had some bad things happen. One, I had a pretty bad breakup with the second longest relationship I ever had, and I had some other bad things going on, including my oldest sister dying. So that stuff bothered me a lot, and, well, I stopped bottling things up. I couldn't anymore. And it's kind of funny. It's like you'd expect, like, what do most people do? Like there's a lot of people out there, like, they react in some really horrible way to where they, like, start yelling and being mean to people or some shit. Instead, my reaction to not being able to bottle things up anymore was I was just annoying people by talking with my feelings. Like, I had a friend who worked at a gas station, and I would just walk out to the gas station and hang out with him and just talk to him about my feelings. I probably annoyed the fuck out of him. It's probably more talking than he was used to anyone ever doing in their life. More talking than I was used to ever doing in front of a person ever. Granted, half the time I was talking like Pokemon and various video games and talking about some animes here and there, but half the time I was just talking about, my experiences in relationships, my family, and it's just, and I think I talked off the ears of all my best friends back then. Probably part of the reason none of them seem to talk to me anymore. I feel like all of my friends have forgotten and abandoned me. Granted, they have their own lives and families, and I'm happy for them. I really am. Many of them have children, and I think that's so awesome. But I would like it if they texted me. I know it's weird, but like I have one friend that's actually a teacher at a school somewhere. Granted, he lives really fucking far away, but I still think to myself, it'd be cool as far as, to hang out with him and play. I remember playing Halo 2 with him in the past. I mean, I know they have their own lives, and I am happy for them. But I miss my friends. And I know I probably annoyed the fuck out of them. But it meant a lot to me that they listened to me go on and on and on for so long. I think there was times I talked for a few hours straight without even stopping, which was definitely very weird for me because they probably never heard me talk or anyone talk that much. But I appreciate that they listened to me. And I know I made the right call with my son living with the people he does live with, because it was them or him being around his mother more, and he would have never lived long. He would have never lived to see his 4th birthday. And I just wanted to make sure he was safe. And like I said, the people he lives with, they love him as if he was their own son. They take good care of him. He's happy, he's healthy, he's well taken care of. And that's what matters most. I just care the most about his well-being, and his well-being is taken care of there. But I feel like he's being manipulated against me. I feel like I'm being alienated as a parent. I miss my son. And granted, I don't think I could raise him anymore. My physical and mental health have deteriorated since then, and if he were to suddenly live with me, I don't even know how I would even parent or be a father anymore. I don't understand how anymore. Not that I think I ever understood to begin with, but I was always doing my best. And I'm just very grateful that I had him in the first place. I was so happy and grateful for him every single day. I never once took him for granted. Heck, everyone told me I was overprotective, that I was a helicopter parent. I taught him to walk, I taught him to talk. His first words were, "I love you, Daddy." For the first 5 years since the divorce, I spent 2 to 3 hours a day sitting in his bedroom, talking to his stuffed animals. After that, I've only been spending about 15 minutes most days. Granted, there are some days I get carried away and I'm in there for like another 40 to 50 minutes, but usually it's just 15 minutes now. And I'm usually talking for about 5 minutes of that time. The rest of it I'm just sort of just sitting in there quietly. Just when I first got divorced, For the first year and a half, he was coming over on the weekends. Then the pandemic, went a year without being able to see him in person. I started this channel. I then went another half year without being able to see him in person. And then I was able to see him in person again. Though he wasn't coming over to spend the weekends anymore. But I was at least able to see him. I'd say about 6 or so times a year. A little bit more here and there, but birthdays, Christmases, other stuff. And that kept going until around springish of last year. I think the last time I saw him in person and was able to give him a hug was March of 2024, about a full year ago, because it's January now. And then there's just more and more excuses of why he couldn't or I couldn't go over, and it's like, and I'm just trying to work with him. And the weird thing is this: when I was going over, my son would be happy to see me. My son would wind up saying to them, "Hey, can Daddy stay later? Can Daddy come over again tomorrow? Can Daddy come over again next week?" And they'd be like, "Oh no, not next week, but maybe the week after that." And of course, it was always just a deflection. They would never get right back down to it. It was just a way to, something they said as far as, to get them quiet about the stuff. And several times throughout the time, they would just casually mention to me saying, "Oh, we talked to the lawyer. He said we don't really have to let him see you." And I'm just thinking to myself, you have any idea how rude that is for you to say that to me? Like, why are you even thinking about that? Why are you even talking to the lawyer about that kind of stuff? And at times they'd be like, "Well, it's not like his mother has time with him." And it's like, well, she's a fucking threat to him. She was the one endangering and neglecting and abusing him. She was the one threatening to run away with him. The whole reason I signed him over to live with you guys because it's the only way to keep him from being killed by her. She was a threat to his life. I made the only choice available that protected my child. And it's just... Then again, I've explained everything about my relationship and how it started and how it went and my family and stuff and a bunch of community posts. But it's just... I've made so many community posts. Maybe I got carried away. Maybe I just felt the need, felt the need to talk about stuff. Or it's like I even come across random videos like Asmongold or shit. And I'm like, "Hey guys, this is a cool video I came across. I want to share this. Listen to this one guy had to say. And here's my opinion on this, and here's my 2 cents. Or here's this one scene from Reincarnated as a Slime that's really cool." But yeah, I wound up being less and less to see him last year. And just phone calls were getting cut short. And then it's just... And of course, like I said, I will always love my son. I'll always be there for him if he ever wants to see me, talk to me, or ever even has the opportunity. Because I don't know if he wants to see or talk to me, or if he's just not allowed to see or talk to me. I don't know anymore. I have so many conflicting thoughts and feelings about this, partially on my own insecurities about just, does my own son even want me as a father anymore? And it's just... I have very mixed emotions and I have very paranoid and sad thoughts about things. But at the end of the day is this. As he gets older, you know, he'll have more autonomy of himself to be able to say to them, saying, hey, I want to see my dad. Can I talk to my dad? Can I see my dad? And of course, I'm trying to be patient and trying to be able to talk to them and try to like, and it's just, heck, I feel like I would say to most men out there, what don't get married. Because I mean, what's the point of getting married if you can't even be guaranteed rights to your own child? Can't be guaranteed rights to be able to protect your own child? I mean, I love my son very, very dearly. I always will. The day he was born was the happiest day of my life. I have so many happy, precious memories of. Heck, I was holding him the day he was born. I named him. But I just. My living room has a pile of his birthday presents from back in the early summer that I have not yet been able to give to him, and his Christmas presents. But yeah, I haven't I haven't heard anything about him. I haven't been able to talk to him. I haven't been able to even see him in a face chat. I haven't been able to even hear his voice for over half a year now. I'm just saying, to any man ever considering marriage, and I mean, why would you ever do it if your child is just going to be taken away from you? But at the end of the day, I care more about his well-being than my own fucking feelings. Granted, yes, my emotions are a thing, and I feel a certain way about it. I mean, heck, I feel jealous of them raising him. As petty as that sounds, is I wanted to be the one to raise him. I wanted to be the one to tuck him in every night. I wanted to be the one to wake him up, take him to school, and all that sort of stuff. Heck, I remember shortly before the divorce happened, I was going to meetings at the school, getting him ready to set up for, kindergarten, preschool type stuff. I remember him having inner tubes put in his ears. I was so worried and scared about that surgery for him. And of course, I was taking him to speech therapy after that when he was having a little bit of issue after that. Because he was just mispronouncing a couple words. But then again, I did the same thing when I was younger about my ears. Then again, he looks a lot like I did when I was that age. And his personality is relatively the same. So, people have brought up the idea of possibly it might be autistic or ADHD, and it's like, well, if I am, then I guess he might be too, and he'd be getting that from me genetically. I don't know. It's just, he's happy where he is. He's healthy, he's safe. has everything he needs. But I miss him. I missed him since the very first day. Heck, I was the kind of weird sentimental father that was, when I went to work early on in my marriage, I'd be at work and I'd be missing my son. I'd be at work and I missed my wife. Though that last part changed as she, became fucking unhinged and shit. And I kept blaming myself for everything. Thinking maybe if I just worked with her on certain things, I could help her, things could get better. And it only got worse and worse, and then eventually, like I said, I have a 3-inch scar on my right arm. My last Christmas being married to my ex-wife. Our son was 2. He was playing with his presents. He was 2.5 years old. He was playing with his presents and he was happy. Apparently he was making too much noise, pissed her off, and she started screaming and yelling and cussing and picking up some of his toys, breaking them in her hands, throwing his toys into the wall and kicking some of his toys hard enough to break the toys. And of course, a 2.5-year-old watching his mother do this on Christmas is obviously going to make said 2.5-year-old get very sad and probably start crying, and then start walking toward the then increasingly made angry person. And, well, like I said, she became visibly more angry at that, and I was very concerned for, his well-being, plus, in general, emotionally, even though I'm the adult in this situation, I didn't feel emotionally well at what I was witnessing. Above all, I felt very mortified and sad at what I was seeing. And at that point, she'd already displayed certain other things, but it's just, even at that point, it was a bit awestruck and a bit just like, what the fuck? And I was just, I guess maybe it's just people would criticize me as just being a terrible personality. Heck, I remember when I was a little kid, my parents would argue, and especially there'd be loud arguments. I'd curl into a ball and get inside my toy chest and sit inside my toy chest for a couple hours. It was not exactly very, you know, if my parents were having a thing, I would just sort of, hid. I was non-confrontational about that. I just went to my toy chest and curled into a ball and hid inside my toy chest. Not a very impressive thing. It makes me sound very pathetic. But I guess I was never a very aggressive person. And usually when it came to confrontations, I was usually a person of, de-escalation. But yeah, when it came to the issue of Christmas, my son's 2.5 years old. He's playing with his presents. He's happy. And then his mom just starts yelling and screaming, cussing, breaking everything. And he starts crying and walking toward her. And she gets noticeably more angry, so I step in between the two of them. And I ask her to please stop. Apparently that did not go over the best. She wound up lunging at me and, she stopped when she saw the blood coming out of my arm. Thankfully it wasn't deep enough to need stitches. Most of the other cuts on the arm healed up to where there wasn't a scar left. And at least the 3-inch scar on my right arm is mostly faded. That's good. Heck, maybe one day it'll be completely faded and be gone completely. Still tried to make that marriage work for another half a year after that. At which point it just got increasingly worse. And then, of course, she then became openly committing adultery, and then we started, going through a divorce. Because at that point, and of course, I've talked more about that stuff in detail, but this has already been a long video, and what are you supposed to be? We're talking about cookies and bike trails. Heck, what are you supposed to be on bike trails at one point? You're supposed to be on cookies and just cooking recipes. It's just... Heck, there's so much more I could talk about, so many things, but... One, it's already a long-ass fucking video, too. Who would even fucking listen to this long of this? And even then, anything else I would say, I've already talked about in community posts, provided you have the patience to read it or even scroll through with like the 1,000+ posts I've made, because it's just... Like I said, I probably annoyed the fuck out of my friends back when I started talking and opening up about shit. It's just... I guess I just had a lot of things to say. But it's just... I'm happy I'm a father. And I'm glad that he's safe where he is. I'm glad he's happy. I'm glad he's healthy. I'm glad he's doing well. I'm glad he has everything he needs to have a good life. Like I said, the people that he lives with, even though I feel like they're alienating me from him, and I feel that that is wrong of them to do, and I do feel angry and hurt over it, it doesn't change the fact that they're the ones cooking him food. They're the ones cleaning his clothes, taking him to the doctors, making sure he's doing his schoolwork. They're the ones tucking him into bed and giving him hugs. They're the ones telling him he's loved. They're the ones taking care of him and keeping him safe. And I am grateful and I appreciate that he has all of those things in his life. I miss him, and I feel sad and fucking devastated over not seeing him as much as I want to. I love him very, very much. I could say the only two humans on the planet I really, really, truly love are my mother and my son. And part of me is coming to terms with the fact that my mom is eventually going to die. I mean, heck, she had 3 strokes and an aneurysm 8 years ago. And granted, she fully recovered after 4 months, but it's a miracle she fucking survived that. And every time I see her, it's very noticeable that she's old. And it's like I'm watching her decay. I can remember her from when I was younger. Her when she was more youthful, more full of energy, of better health. I don't see her very often. I imagine if Dad dies, I'll go see her more often. I don't really go over very often just because I have... But that's a separate concern. Some grievances in regard to Dad. Technically my stepdad, but I consider him my dad. Heck, I respect him more as a man and more as my father than my biological father. but I still have issues with him. But I would say in the circumstance that something happens to him, I would try to go see my mom more. That way she's not completely alone. Plus, I do love my mom very much. But it also makes me feel sad every time I see her. Because I can see that she's getting older. I can see that she will eventually die. Whenever she dies, I'm going to miss her very, very badly. Being sad and devastated won't even begin to describe how hurt I'll feel over that. I've joked with her a few times, saying it'd be nice at first she'd get a few robot parts and live another 100 or so years. Because honestly, I don't think I would ever be emotionally ready for when the time comes for her to die. But I can see her getting older. I can see her getting more frail. Heck, I'll say this. A year and a half ago, I had a bladder surgery. She came over for 3 days and 3 nights to watch over me. I appreciate that. I enjoyed spending some time with her during the first half of that. The first day, anyway. I was a little bit more active. After that, my body kind of started shutting down from how much my body disliked the physical condition I was in, and my body was not coping with it. Honestly, I would have wanted to be given morphine from how much pain I was in. I felt horrible, and I was in a lot of pain. But I appreciate that she was there. I definitely needed her assistance. I needed her to be there for me. And on the first day, we watched a few Jackie Chan movies and Conan the Barbarian and stuff. And yes, I know that may sound a bit lame. And of course, well, I was in quite a bit of physical discomfort and pain. And I was miserable. But I still appreciated the time I spent with her. It would have been nice if it was under better circumstances, but I enjoyed spending that time with my mom. I love my mom very, very much. I try to not think about and ignore the issue of her mortality. But every time I see her, it's so obvious the difference between how she is now and how she was when I was younger. I know she's not exactly in bad health at the moment, and there's no reason for me to expect anything bad to happen to her. But I can't help but think about just how much I don't want her to die. I do worry about if I ever become openly bisexual. One, my dad being a deacon. Heck, I remember in my 20s even, he would even go on and on about how it's a sin for me to even be dating a woman, let alone be gay. So, I mean, but at that point, what fucking meaning does that fucking have anymore? Oh, it's a sin. It's a sin to be with a man? Well, what's that matter if you say it's also a sin to be with a woman? It's like, great. You're going to be overly strict with rules to an unreasonable degree? Well, guess what? They don't have meaning anymore. It's like, what point does it have any value for you to tell me that it's a sin for me to be gay? if you're also going to tell me it's a sin for me to be with a woman. It's like, what, you expected me to just be alone forever? Then again, it's like, oh, from his point of view, I should just buy 2 goats, trade them for a wife, or some shit. I feel like he doesn't live in reality. I feel like he doesn't... Hell, he doesn't seem to like, love, or care about anything in this world. Like, I feel like he is the most bitter person I've ever met. I feel like I feel like Dad hates everything about life. Like, in general, he does not express happiness about anything. Don't get me wrong. I respect him. I don't wish any harm on him. But it's just... things he's said and certain ways he's been, I take offense to. I'm angry about. I'm resentful over. I have grievances over. Plus many other things. So obviously I'm angry about that shit. But again, it's just what fucking weight or meaning does it have for you to tell me that it's a sin for me to be gay? When you tell me it's also a sin for me to be with a woman. Like, oh, it's having sex with a woman, you're not married to her, that's a sin too. Okay, so what's it matter then? If you're, as far as you're concerned, any relationship, period, man or woman, is wrong. Just completely unrealistic expectations with no amount of just... like, there's a complete lack of positivity. And granted, I understand it's part of his own personality. But the fact that he went from being someone who was a drinker, who had way too much fucking beer, to, I'm like 11 or 12, he becomes a fucking sober deacon who's like getting up at 3 a.m. every morning to type out the Bible on a typewriter, whose entire life then completely revolves around the church, to where he wakes up, types the Bible out on a typewriter, prays, reads the Bible, goes to church, go to work, go to church, not to mention just the massive amount of money he gave to the church. It's like, we never would have made enough money to count as fucking up middle. We would have never counted as even the lower part of middle class. But the amount of money he gave to the church, with tithes and offerings, just... and of course, he was always there at the church, too. It was just... and again, I understand. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like, to some degree, it's kind of neglectful of your fucking family. And then again, he's like, oh, you're stepping in. He's like, technically, my middle sister is his biological... like, one of my older sisters was his biological child. He had been with my mom. They split up. And then, of course, my mom got back with my eldest sister's dad, had me, and then they got split back up, and they, got back together with my stepdad. And like I said, I respect my stepdad more than I did my biological father. And I remember largely wanting my stepdad, wanting him to be proud of me. I cared. But it's just so many things that have been said that it's just... and it's just a lack of certain positive issues other places, to where it's like, if like it's like he refuses to acknowledge reality. It's like and it's just, I feel angry. I feel like I can't even talk to him about stuff, because he's the kind of person that, even if I were to lightly skirt around anything, he's the kind of person to get very offended and angry. So it's like, how on earth could I even talk to him about even that kind of stuff, let alone the idea of me being openly bi? And at that point, what if it becomes some major issue between him and mom? Either mom would wind up agreeing with him, or it'd be some issue where she doesn't agree with him, and then it becomes some major fucking fight or argument. Like, I don't want to cause some major fucking problem. Heck, part of me is even considered the possibility that I mention being bisexual, that, would my parents attempt to physically hurt me? Would they attack me? Would they try to kill me? And everyone's like, that's a bit paranoid, that's a bit much. Yeah, but here's the thing. It's just there are certain things that have been said and certain things I remember from them, things that they did when I was younger, that they don't exactly have. I don't want to go into detail. I don't want to talk badly about my parents, especially my mother, because I love my mom very much. Granted, I'd have more concerns against my stepdad, but, you know, simply put, my biological father, my biological mother, and of course, my stepdad, they all have mental illness to a large degree. Granted, I love my mom very much, and she did a good job as a mother. She, I feel she was a good mom. But at the same time, there's concerns about certain things. And even though they're both fucking elderly people, and heck, my stepdad's like 11 or some years older than my mom, honestly, it's a miracle he's alive at this point, given how fucking old he is. But it's just, to a large degree, I don't trust them, and they have not exactly behaved in a way that would make me feel I could trust them. I mean, heck, I can't remember what age I started doing it, but I remember even by the time I was a teenager, I would literally just start barricading my door. Granted, I lived with them for a few years after I was an adult. I was working full time. I was even paying half my parents' rent and help it, but just there were no apartments to go to, and I didn't have anyone to move in with. So I was like, well, if I'm just gonna be alone anyway, I'll just stay with my parents for now, and I'll figure something out later. And I guess depression also helps with not really going anywhere or acknowledging how bad certain things can be. You just sort of, but, and of course, a lot of times I'd either be at work or going over to visit my friends or going out to walk places like bike trails and stuff. See, guys, we're going to come back to the bike trail conversation eventually, but it's just, I don't want to complain too much. I mean, all in all, they still did technically raise me. But it's just I have complaints. I have things I feel angry about. There are things that were said that I am still hurt and bothered by. I legitimately do have a concern about, you know, I love my mom very much, but I wouldn't want her to hate me or be disgusted or ashamed of me. Like, and it's not like the idea like, oh, I'm going to be bisexual to like hurt them or to rebel against God or to be some sort of evil. So like, it's not like I'm going out to, doing like random slutty shit or some shit. It's just an issue of, hey, I just want a loving, caring relationship. I just want someone I feel safe with. I just want someone who understands and accepts me as for who and what I am. That's why is that seen as such a bad thing? Why should it matter what gender the person is? Because in the day, I'm bi. I really don't, like, honestly, the only reason why I have an issue against women, and again, I don't hate women. It's just the idea. I don't think I could ever bring myself to date or be in a relationship with a woman again. Not that it matters. There's no fucking woman out there that fucking want me anyway. Again, we broached this subject. I'm ugly as fuck, but plus, usually women tend to not like the guy with crippling low self-esteem and no self-confidence, and who tends to be very depressed and emotionally broken on the inside. Like, if my heart's made out of glass, that glass heart's been shattered repeatedly, and there's so many fucking pieces of it are missing. And, like, my emotions don't even work the way I think they're supposed to anymore. So at the end of the day, it's just my experiences were with women, especially my ex-wife, but honestly, there's lots of other women and circumstances and rejections and just things that were just negative experiences to where it's just like, how could I possibly ever be attracted to someone with a vagina ever again after everything I've been through? It's just, and like I said, whether it's, a Astolfo or a Bishonen type character, like, say, Diablo from Reincarnated as a Slime, or say Sylvia, basically just, hey, it's a beautiful woman with big tits. She's also got a big cock and some balls. The base of that point is like, to a degree, I'm just sort of adverse to dating anyone with a vagina ever again. Mainly due to trauma and shit. But in general, I like both, and honestly, I think I actually like cock and balls more than vagina. It's just something I've never really thought too much of in the past, mainly because raised very religious and raised from, before, since I was very young, to, being gay is not good. That it's unacceptable and stuff like that. So never really entertained the thought. No, I'd say some of my first experience seeing some stuff similar to that stuff would be the Bible Black anime, more of a hentai really, but there's some scenes where the woman winds up, growing a fucking cock and fucking another woman, and it's like, that was really hot. So, yes, I like femboys, Bishonen, Futanari. Heck, if I could describe my ideal type woman, it would either be a 26-year-old Astolfo or a 26-year-old Sylvia from Konosuba. So, or maybe it's just Alex Jones, description of how they're putting chemicals in the water to make the frogs gay. Maybe Alex Jones was right that they just put chemicals and I'm gay now because of chemicals in the water. At which point, I'm okay with that. For whatever reason I love cock now. The end. I'm okay with it. I love it. I love cock now, and I love that I love cock. Why? Who knows? Is it trauma? Is it a spinal tap? Is it meningitis, swelling of the brain? Was it just seeing Astolfo and being like, oh, that's cute? Or even Sylvia from Konosuba, like, or the Bible Black thing, who knows? Just saying, femboys, Bishonen, Futanari. Everyone's like, what the fuck is this conversation? I'm like, I don't know. Like if you had like a diagram to map this fucking shit out, I don't know how that drawing would look. I feel like anyone trying to like do the graphs and shit of whatever this conversation is, I feel like they would have just they themselves would have had a mental breakdown trying to fucking chart this shit. It's like I've had a conversation, but the conversation's a Rubik's Cube. And the Rubik's Cube is like fucking dyslexic or something. I'll say this, I definitely don't have dyslexia. That's good. But I do have like disorganized speech. So I'm fine with individual words, but apparently the way I phrase things, like apparently like when I write essays in school, and like my mom would, like I did classes like calculus and physics. I got straight A's, 4.0. Heck, I get like IQ tests. I was like 132 for IQ, and I was really good at things like calculus and physics back then and chemistry. But while I was really an avid reader, even then, and when I wrote, I could write a lot. I mean, heck, anyone seen my community posts, you've seen the amount I type. But apparently, the sentence structure and the way I put my paragraphs together is not considered coherent. I don't see it. I don't see it. But apparently the way I communicate is both in speech and in text is very disorganized. And I don't know if it's possible to fix that. Because I mean, how can you fix something that you can't see? Because I look at what I write, and that's just, to me, it looks like way it's supposed to be. Like, I look at the paragraphs I write, and I'm like, there's no other way of putting that together that makes sense to me. That obviously, I can, like, someone else can write it, and I can read it, and it's fine. But it's just, like, it feels like physically uncomfortable to rearrange it. It's kind of like the idea like this. One thing, again, with my dad was, like, he's so much against certain things in the Bible, like they're really against the whole piercings and tattoos thing, to where, like, my oldest sister, she had, like, an eyebrow piercing, and she had to physically take it out of her face before she was allowed to step foot in the house. So, there's something there, just to put that into perspective. Then again, I don't know if maybe, getting up at 3 a.m. and typing out the Bible on a typewriter didn't, make that clear. And again, I'm not knocking him for, being devoted to the Bible. That's good. I mean, I'm a strong believer in Jesus Christ as well. And I read the Bible quite a bit too. But I also read other things, and I'm not a condescending fucking asshole who's overly controlling. So, and I have some sense of open-mindedness and some ability to listen to other people and actually fucking care about their point of view and not force my opinion on them. I'm just saying. Just saying. But main point is this. Whereas me, I don't have any piercings or tattoos. But it's not doing anything with the Bible. Like, I literally don't give a shit about that part of the Bible. That's just a bunch of those things that are a bunch of rules that were written for the culture. It wasn't like godly rules to where it's like, this is like what God wants you to do. It was more like just what was culture for to separate themselves from, their neighbors and stuff. It was stuff written in there by Jewish priests. It's like how a lot of people can say like a lot of stuff about like the animal sacrifice stuff. That wasn't stuff given by God. That wasn't stuff given by Moses. That was stuff ushered in by a bunch of priests because it's a good way to make money. I mean, after all, the book of Jeremiah talks specifically about that, about how the scribes had done that kind of shit and written stuff into the Bible that wasn't fucking supposed to be there. Jeremiah literally said that in the Bible. In the book of Jeremiah. But it's just, and above all, I think it's really good to read the Bible just to have an understanding of how people were in that part of the world at that time, all those thousands of years ago. But at the same time, like, there's things about that that's just like, I don't see as morally right, but I see it as important to understand the context of what the culture was back then. But it's just, the piercing tattoo things, I don't have any piercings or tattoos because I personally just don't like that stuff. Like, I don't even like having like a pin writing on me. Like, in general, I don't wear jewelry, like, let alone piercings. Like, the only time I really had a piece of jewelry was like when I had my wedding ring. And I tolerated that because, it had special sentimental significance to me. But in general, like, I don't like jewelry. I don't like the feeling of metal against my skin. which apparently also is considered somewhat also an autistic thing, to where you don't like certain textures or certain things against your skin. But like, here's the thing: even the idea of like writing something temporarily with a pen on your skin, I don't like that. I don't like. I would just like, even if I were to take a pen and were to write something on my arm, I'd be looking at it like I want to clean that off. I want that. No. So yeah, I understand that's maybe a bit OCD sounding. I don't think I'm OCD. My ear is itchy. I had to scratch my ear. I had double check OBS. I was like, it's silly. It didn't record anything. It's just. And of course, like I said, my mom would reorganize with stuff because one, even the English teachers were kind of like, "What the fuck is this? The way this essay's put together?" But also, it's the fact that, computers weren't really a thing yet. Granted, some people had computers, but my family didn't have a computer yet. We had a typewriter. And aside from the fact that my dad was typing out the fucking Bible in the morning at 3 a.m. when I'm trying to sleep, aside from that, there is the fact that school expected typed final drafts. And, well, Mom was a faster typer. Plus, we couldn't really afford spend a shit ton of money to get a bunch of ink cartridges back and forth all the time. So by just having her do it, it was faster and cheaper, and we could afford it because, ink cartridges were kind of expensive. So apparently, like, the way I talk, maybe that's the neuro. It's just my speech and my writing tend to be a bit disorganized, and I try to look at it. I can't. I can't make it be any other way. I just can't. And like, apparently, maybe I have ADHD. Maybe I have autism or something. I don't know. I've taken the online tests, the self-diagnostic thing that way, and apparently those I have. Apparently, according to online internet air quotes tests, because again, how the fuck can you really trust a fucking internet test? It's the internet, and it's like, that's no replacement for a real doctor. But then again, what would be even the point of me seeing a doctor for that kind of shit? I mean, even if a doctor were to diagnose me and say, okay, you have autism. Okay, what the fuck difference does that make? I'm 37. Hell, you can't have autism and be 37. I'm too old for that. Wouldn't I have just outgrown it? I wouldn't I have just like gotten older and it just would have, went away? And even then, even if it was still a thing that's with me, what the fuck would it change? It's not like the doctor would do anything, and it's not like I'd want to, they prescribe me a pill for it? I don't want to take drugs. Hell, doctor's been trying to prescribe me fucking antidepressants for like fucking 30 fucking years, and I've been saying no to that. Just because, one, especially if I ever lose medical insurance stuff, how will I fucking afford to pay for it? And that's the sort of stuff that you start taking, you have to keep taking it. And again, I'm not knocking people that need to take antidepressants. If you need it, good for you. Do what's best for you. But I don't want to be dependent on a chemical. Plus, I mean, that stuff can sometimes have unpredictable side effects. And plus, like, what if like something happens and I suddenly can't afford it? And then I'm like, and that's the sort of stuff that can be very dangerous to get off of. And it's just, I'd like to find alternatives to work on. People say, just go to the gym more. They're like, I'm trying, but I seem to always sprain something. And it's just like, I can't build muscle, and obviously I don't lose fat, but I mean, well, we've obviously, we're staring at a picture of cookies right now. So, yeah, I'm fat. Heck, if you guys, It's like I have videos where I have my mask on, but if you want to see a picture of my mask off, Lavos, the final boss from Chrono Trigger. That's just a picture of me. Or Shimio from Deathmark. That's a picture of me. It's like I am ugly as fuck. I am fat. I have no muscle or athletic ability or skills. I have hobbies. I have a keyboard. I have guitar. I have books on how to draw. I have a book on how to learn German. I have hobbies. I have juggling balls that are like, it's like they're red, green, blue, and yellow, and heck, sometimes I'll stand in my living room and I'm trying to juggle and I'll listen to like Godsmack and Korn and Black Sabbath. I'm still shit at juggling. I'm terrible at all my hobbies. Especially but I just enjoy doing them, even if I'm fucking shit at them, even if I'll never get better at them. Even if they're the sort of thing that even if I was good at, I'd never make money. Heck, karaoke. I do a bunch of karaoke. I am so bad. My voice is like epilepsy for your ears. I am a terrible singer. But I enjoy singing. I like it. I like singing. I strongly suggest and encourage other people to sing karaoke as well. But I fully acknowledge I'm not exactly a very talented person at hitting different notes and shit. I don't even remember what we're talking about anymore. This is supposed to be initially this was supposed to be under a minute. It was supposed to be, hi everybody, I'm Lunar D8. I like cookies. I think raspberry is the best berry. And macaroons are good cookies, especially raspberry macaroons, or chocolate macaroons, or dark chocolate macaroons, or maybe chocolate raspberry wrap. God damn. But it's just like, oh, here's this cake and various recipes like I don't know, and then we talk about bike trails and shit. And I guess that's where we'll end that with that. Heck, why not? Let's do the intro before I end it. My final thought, but it's just supposed to be the main thing the thing was supposed to be on. It was supposed to be like, hey guys, I like cookies. These are cookies I like. I like raspberries. What do you guys like? What are some good recipes? Oh, I like nature. The end. End! It's like shit. Z is a useless letter, but we like it anyway. Fuck. Shit. Well, I'm about to do my intro. Initially, I held off on doing the intro at the start of the video because, again, I was like, the intro is going to take up too much time, and I just want this to be a short video. I'm making too long videos. I'm just going to make a short video, guys. It's just going to be, we're going to skip the intro. We're going to hop straight in, and I'm just going to be like, hi, guys. I like cookies. Here's a picture of macaroons. Raspberries, great, isn't it? Ooh, macaroons are good. What cookies do you guys like? I'm going to say macaroons are the best cookies. You guys are either going to disagree with me or going to fight me in the comments. And your fighting me in the comments is just you telling me more delicious cookies. Which is not really a fight at this point. It's just you trying to argue with me about no, macaroons aren't the best. This other type of cookie is much better. And I'm like, oh, that does sound good too. It's like... At that point, it'd be like telling people, guys, it's so horrible. I couldn't imagine people sending me the picture of titties. That'd be so horrible. Could you imagine how bad it would be getting sent tons of pictures of boobs? And then all of a sudden you get sent pictures of boobs. And everyone's like, that's the dumbest reverse psychology joke ever. And I'm like, again, apparently my sense of humor sucks. Okay, but you guys get the point. It's supposed to be... either way, it's fucking, we're having a conversation. either you agree macaroons are great or you have another cookie in mind. And then we talk about cookies. And it's like, yay, cookies! Because I'm a fucking fat ass. But it's just, yeah. Do you guys like macaroons? Do you guys like raspberry? You guys ever hear of a tuxedo cake? But yeah, originally it was supposed to be, I'm going to skip the intro. That way we can make the shortest video possible. It'll just be like 40 some odd seconds. It'll just be, hi guys, we're skipping the hi guys. We don't even need pleasantries. We don't need greetings where we're going. We don't need odds where we're we don't need. I just don't do that. And it's just like, I'm like, okay, we just skip that. We just go, okay. And it's like, okay, guys. I was like, and we just start video. And like, okay. I like macaroons. Raspberries are cool. Share cooking recipes. The end. It's like 7 seconds. That's the end of the video. I can just delete everything else in this video and just save those 7 seconds. And that's all we need. That's all we fucking need. Just saying. That's all it is. Okay? But, just saying. Might as well do the intro at this point because we're way past the point of actually having any possibility of this being, well, one, a short video, but also, seriously, why? I mean, this is like 2 hours. Who? Why? Why would anyone listen to this? It's just some dude rambling over a picture of cookies. Why are you here? Why am I here? I should be sleeping. I have to go back to work. At least I don't work nearly as much overtime as I used to at the previous job. In general, the job I'm currently doing, it's nice. It's a lot of manual labor. I use this reciprocating saw. There's a lot of lifting. I also seem to constantly sprain and strain shit, and I have a fucking purple fucking welt on the inside of my fucking leg, the size of my fucking fist from where I hit my fucking leg on the side of a fucking piece of metal because I am a fucking uncoordinated fucking piece of shit. I can't even fucking exist without hurting myself in some way. I go to the gym to try to exercise, I get hurt. I go to work to do a job that I have to do in order to be able to pay rent so I'm not homeless, I get hurt. I can't seem to function. I can't ride a bicycle. Heck, if I try to do just lunges, I fucking fall over. I don't remember what we're fucking talking about. I'm just like... Point being... Why am I making this video? I suppose anyone would just say it's like, oh, it's emotional validation, you're just trying to get clicks and stuff. And I'm like, sure, why not? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, obviously, if I wanted that, there's much better fucking ways to do it. This is just listen to the random loser otaku talk to a computer screen because it's the closest thing he has to another human being to talk to. Then again, to be fair, if I did have an actual friend to talk to about any of this stuff, I feel like they'd probably kill themselves to get the fuck away from me at this point because just listening to me has probably got to be so fucking annoying. Like I'd just be a fucking nuisance and a burden. It's like, okay, we're going to go between periods of me talking nonstop to then me just being in a fucking catatonic state where I'm just sort of very quiet and withdrawn and just sort of shut down. It's like, how is either of those conducive to any sort of pleasant experience to be around? It's like, on the one hand, I'm very withdrawn and isolated. On the other hand, if I really was around people, one, my little social interaction, energy bar would get depleted, because if I was actually talking to another person, not only would I be much more self-conscious, but I'd also probably be much more honestly exhausted. I'd probably have less energy. I'd probably get worn out so much faster, or I'd be like, especially this is like, I can't even stay on one topic if it's just me. And granted, if I was talking to somebody else, I'd use them as a sounding board. But even then, they're using other topics, and I'm like, if I have my topics I want to talk about, it'll be harder for me to focus. But even then, a lot of times, my go-to conversation way, that if I'm talking to like, here's the thing, this is just me. There is no sounding board. It's just me talking to myself out loud. And it's just, obviously, this lets me just sort of, go wherever. Whereas if I'm talking to a person, I'm much more self-conscious. And more importantly is this, I tend to use them as a sounding board. So I tend to just stay on what they're talking about. And I tend to be much more reserved. And I tend to focus my conversation on what their topics are and on them. And I tend to let them do most of the talking. And I tend to listen to them. And usually I avoid talking about myself, period. And even if I do talk about myself, it's usually very superficial, shallow stuff, avoiding anything that's really important emotionally, or anything that's bad, or anything I feel upset about. Like anything I would be emotionally frustrated about, I would probably never fucking talk about. And like I said, for most of my life, I just bottled everything the fuck up. And like I said, there came a time where I couldn't bottle up anymore, and I talked all my best friends' ears off. Like, my reaction to deal with that was just talk to them. I just talked. And I probably annoyed them, and I probably sound like a complete fucking whiny bitch. Probably how I sound to all of you guys right now. I probably just sound like a complete whiny fucking bitch, and I'm probably just annoying to everyone, which honestly means nobody's listened to this point in this video, because why? Why would you listen to me? For what purpose? I don't know. Why am I even making the video? I guess I should do the intro, since, like I said, we're well past it being a short video. Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. This was meant to be a very short video, where I'd be like, hey guys, I like raspberry as a flavor, and as a berry, and as a dessert or a preserve spread on, various desserts and confections. I like macaroons. I like raspberry macaroons. I like chocolate macaroons. And I like cake and fast food in general. I mean, heck, I've had Little Caesars pizza perhaps more often than is healthy. Heck, I think eating a nice hot pizza, some cold Pepsi, and reading a manga is a pretty good day. And I guess the one thing I want to say is this. Even though I never want to go camping ever again, I like going out to the bike trail. I like just walking on the bike trail and just listening to the sound of the trees rustling in the wind as I'm walking. I guess the main question I was trying to ask everybody out there, even though we took the long way around to get to this question. Do any of you also like to go walking? Maybe around your town? Maybe you have actual hiking trails? Maybe campgrounds even? Maybe next to a river or a waterfall? In general, do any of you out there Heck, it might be cool to walk in a place next to a bunch of cherry blossom trees or something. But I guess the main question is this. Do any of you out there go to bike trails and just walk on the bike trail and you just enjoy walking on the bike trail in the quiet and the solitude? Does anyone else like nature? Do you like watching the clouds? Do you like listening to storms? Does anyone else walk on bike trails?